More than 3,000 years ago, at the foot of Yanshan Mountains that mark the end of the North China Plain, there once stood a remote town. Surrounding the settlement was a vast wilderness, teeming with wildlife. Today, the wilderness has become Beijing. But everything from the past hasn't disappeared. Although most of the original animal inhabitants are gone, those that remain live on in gaps in the urban landscape. Humans and animals now live side by side, often in close proximity. Wrapped up in our own lives, we are often too busy to notice them. But if you look carefully, you will see them, between the towering skyscrapers, on the tree branches outside our windows, in the noisy hutongs, in the green thickets of parks, or under the congested overpasses. They are right here in Beijing. They are our neighbors in the wild. It would seem obvious that the more a city district is built up, the less space there can be for animals to live in. The central business district houses the most spectacular skyscrapers in Beijing. Every square meter has been planned for optimal use. Underground, above ground, and even the air seems reserved for human activity only. Here, however, is the hunting ground of a bird of prey, the common kestrel. This small, non-picky animal has learned to survive among the skyscrapers by becoming a master of urban hunting. It's an expert at finding prey in the hidden, complex environment, relying less on its sharp beak and claws than patience and acute vision. Skyscraper tops are its landing pads. It takes off from their roofs and makes use of the air currents between them, just as if it were flying through the mountains. Hovering is its signature skill. It can hang high in the air without changing its position, carefully scanning the streets and open areas below. An escaped hamster has been targeted, and its motion is being tracked. The falcon waits until its quarry enters an open area. Then it dives with lightning speed. This individual bird is a male. Today, it will share its catch. Common kestrels partner to raise young during the breeding season. The hard-earned food is a good gift for a female. By bringing its meal, the male proves its worth as a partner. The paired birds couple after filling their stomachs. To start a family, they must now build a safe and comfortable home for their forthcoming young. Air conditioner external units, large street lamps, and the metal frames of towers are good places to nest. But common kestrels are not in the habit of making their own nests. They often seize the finished nests of other birds. This time, they are targeting the roost of a magpie on the 30th floor. Magpies are tough. Crows arrive for a counteroffensive on the roof. If the common kestrels don't drive them away, magpies and crows will likely eat their chicks. Crows are strong fighters. This time the falcon is outnumbered. The Kestrels are forced to give up and must look for a new place to settle down. This mating pair chose an air conditioning unit as their new home. The female lays 3 eggs, but the air conditioner's owner has other plans. Like the Kestrels, Li Xiang recently moved in. She wants to replace her old air conditioning unit with a new one before the summer comes.
他其实叫了很长时间啊，当时是挺惊喜的，特别兴奋。但说实话，虽然很兴奋，但是其实也有一点感伤，就觉得他在这儿能安家，那真的是找不着地方。我那天特别有感触，就我那么多年从北京，就是在我刚刚开始换工作的时候，因为我工作调动特别急，我就找房子，我走了1天的时间，就没有一个合适的房子。我就晚上的时候，我就走那大街上，我就看到这全部的高楼大厦，我就突然之间我就哭了，在大街上就站着，我现在说来还有点激动呢，就站在那马路中间，我那泪就哗哗往下流。我觉得找一个家的感觉真是挺难的，就活着挺不容易的，在北京那种感觉，就是这可能也是我看到这只鸟的时候没有去想去打扰它。就我当时那个在大街上就漫无目的，就觉得没有家的那种感觉，我觉得鸟应该也会有这种感觉吧，应该是同样的。
After discussion, Li Xiang and her husband decide to forego their new air conditioner until the baby Kestrels have grown up and flown away. Li Xiang's family and the Kestrels will live under the same roof. She even names her home Kestrels Family. It took only a few decades for Beijing to become a modern metropolis with hundreds of high-rise buildings. With their strength and flexibility, common Kestrels were quick to adapt. They now share the capital with more than 20 million people. Of course, not every animal can fit in so well. The common swift has lived in Beijing for more than 700 years, although it is now challenged by rapid urban development. This is a bird with a very unusual body structure. The common swift's extremely weak claws prevent it from perching like other birds. It has evolved for life in the sky. Eating, sleeping, and even mating, it can fly without landing for 10 months and only lands to nest. Its nests are built in gaps on tall structures. Luckily, in the eaves of Beijing's old towers and city gates, there are many suitable gaps. The drum tower and the watchtower of the Imperial Palace have long hosted large numbers of swifts. Old Beijingers call them tower swifts. The Beijing swift is, in fact, the only animal named after the Chinese capital. After much change and transformation of the city, some of its favored nesting places no longer exist. Some buildings have also been fitted with anti-bird nests. So where else can the bird go? Swifts and Beijing's ancient architecture are closely connected. This example of how ancient history has combined with nature is indeed a worthy object of study. Over the Zhangyanmen Gate in central Beijing, common swifts fill the air during the months of summer. This tower, without a protective net, attracts thousands of nesting swifts. Gwen Jianxiu and his colleagues are paying close attention to the birds. As protectors of cultural relics, this is the first time they have done so.
正阳门从历史上讲，大概600年左右，有正阳门开始，雨燕基本上就来正阳门。今天我们很少能看到有这么长久伴随我们在一起的动物，还在我们身边，这么不离不弃。它不远不近，它并不停留在我们的屋檐下，对吧？但是它还是生活在这个城市。
这个粪便到底对古建有没有影响？影响的程度有多大？找到了一个就是古建保护和北京雨燕保护双赢的这么一条道路。
The Zhangyanmen Gate Management Office plans to carry out continuous research on common swifts, and this year is just the beginning. Being with the birds for only 3 months has already yielded a deeper understanding.
因为我们有24小时监控，发现小雨燕在成长过程中遇到非常多的困难，甚至有的时候是什么？是断臂求生。
雨燕的巢穴非常简陋，它的生存环境还是很艰苦的，其实也是一个特别大的一个触动。这个巢应该大概就是从或者是船子，或者在斗拱这儿掉下来的。这个羽毛多一点，有羽毛，有干草，有塑料袋儿，包括现在其实我发现它有好多塑料绳儿。它用这些绳儿来筑巢，实际上对它特别不好的，因为有的时候它那个脚趾会缠在这个塑料绳上。我在正阳门也工作20年了，但是之前对雨燕没有这么近的观察过，也不了解它的生活习性，都不太清楚。就是每年6、7月份的时候，知道就是燕子在这儿飞，我们开始做这个项目，开始近距离的去观测它，而且了解它的那个生活习性的时候，才开始慢慢的喜欢上它了。它回来了，回场，回家了，回家了。看这个圆圆的大眼睛多可爱，它探头探脑的，好萌啊！
To solve the problem of a dearth of adequate nesting places requires people to look at ancient buildings with a new state of mind. More importantly, it also requires that the birds be studied.
燕跑到哪去了，有哪去的都不知道，因为没有任何人在捕捉到它，但是有别的方法。
Gao Wu was an associate professor of zoology at the Capital Normal University before he retired. He has repeatedly ridden a bicycle slowly along the moat surrounding the imperial palace to record the number of swifts. He found it had decreased from 400 to 80.
北京雨燕呢，是大家比较熟悉的这种燕子，但是它哪来的呢？到哪去过冬呢？是吧？它飞行路线是怎么飞过去呢？这大家并不了解。这些呢，我们就通过环志能够了解。但是我们要环志呢，得首先得捕捉火鸟。那我们就发现呢，颐和园这个阔如亭这儿，它那个亭子相对来讲比较低，所以这回我们用网就可以能够捕捉到鸟，而且数量比较多。
Every May, Gao Wu waits for common swifts at the summer palace. More and more birds have become the objects of his study.
01年我就退休了，不能再召集学生了，就有几年吧，就是相对就是停顿的。
But other people haven't stopped studying common swifts. Today, 79-year-old Gao Wu comes to the Kuoru Pavilion again. Under the pavilion's roof, there are many nests. 2 decades ago, only Gao Wu and a few of his students were guarding the swifts. Now there are people here not only from Beijing, but also other countries of the world, all to study the birds. They have just begun their ringing work.
都过来了吧？那什么，这个行，咱们是第一批进入颐和园的这个工作人员，我们要把这个对动物的这个安全、语言的安全和人的安全都摆在首位。装口袋，先撑开吧，走。
A trapping net blocks all the exits of the pavilion. Everyone is ready.
绷上劲儿就行。对。
Before day breaks, the swifts start to hit the net. Volunteers remove them quickly and carefully. After measuring and recording, they attach a ring to each of them.
从07年开始做，第11次了。我理解啊，语言的缓制，就是给鸟做了一个特殊的标记之后，然后看它的来龙去脉。
According to Chinese folklore, migrating swallows can't fly past the Yellow River because they will fall into its waters and die. The truth has been revealed with the help of a small device. In 2014, a first batch of photosensitive locators were delivered to the Summer Palace from the UK. 32 common swifts carrying them were then tracked to a wintering location people had been guessing.
更多的人原来就确实都认为，不知道这个语言是从哪里来，到哪里去，所以在回收的信息里头详实的把它描出来。因为发现的这个语言，它都飞到了非洲的南部的一些国家，大家觉得这个太震撼了，是吧？30多克、40克的鸟要飞16000公里单程，那么你说这很伟大，很了不起。
After dawn, tourists start arriving at the Summer Palace, and the annual bird ringing work comes to an end.
再来一个，西瓜甜不甜？
Rings have now been attached to another group of swifts. In 2 months, they will embark on their transoceanic migration. To those studying them, it's amazing to see them come back year after year. A swift which was ringed by Gao Wu 12 years ago has come back to the Summer Palace. Swifts have an average lifespan of only 13 years. For these dependable birds, returning to Beijing and the Kuoru Pavilion is in a sense returning home. They will do so every year until their lives come to an end. In the modern city, reinforced concrete has replaced wood as the building material of choice. Nonetheless, swifts can still find gaps in it that are suitable for nesting. The Tonghui Canal at the southern edge of the central business district is an important landmark in eastern Beijing. At the height of summer, the air above its waters swarms with flying insects, which in turn attracts swifts. The underside of the busy flyover turns out to be good for nesting. The height and shape of its drainage holes and gaps in its concrete beams are just right for the swifts. Sundown is a peak time for both city traffic and swift feeding, although nothing can compare to the birds when it comes to freedom. In the air, above the traffic and canal, they open their mouths to catch insects and can be flying at speeds of over 100 kilometers per hour. In the throat of each bird is a pouch that can store more than 400 small insects. A swift has to catch some 250,000 insects over the course of a single summer to support its young. Small wonder, then, that its throat pouch is often full. Living downtown inevitably brings the birds into contact with people. This swift flew into someone's house. Luckily, it was not injured.
那工作人员说要到的9月是吧？
对。
不知道他会不会喝呢？听到一声响，因为当时外面下着雨，这只小燕子就是直接落在沙发上了。
后来说这个燕子就判断了一下，这个燕子应该是没有受伤，所以就教了我们那个
放飞的时候要注意的点，然后我们就想说试试看了。咱就找一个空旷的地方，咱们试试给它放飞了吧。我猜到你要来这个。
Even though the city has changed, the swift still finds its way home. There has never been a bird connected to a city so closely. They have a common name, Beijing. Space is in short supply in the central business district, and that makes it hard for animals who live there to avoid contact with humans. Unless, of course, they go about their business at night. When office workers are sleeping in their beds, the hedgehog is at its busiest. It is a small animal with about 12,000 hard spines on its back, so it does not have to worry about natural enemies. This particular hedgehog is hungry. Hedgehogs hibernate during the months of winter, which means they are dangerously low on energy reserves when they wake up in spring. Many of them indeed do not make it through to the warmer weather. The lawn is neat and beautiful, but not a good place for the hedgehog to hunt for insects. Its voracious appetite is pushing it on. It must find a place with food as soon as possible. Fences, walls, and roads are all obstacles. But given its need to feed, it will cross them. After crossing a busy path, it heads towards an untended section of a park. The radiance of a street lamp is a magnet for light-loving insects. A spider has spun its web higher up. But there's plenty to be found on the ground. When insects land or fall, the hedgehog is there to gobble them up. Food left outside a door for stray cats also tastes good. Undergrowth that has been left to let grow wild is ideal for hedgehogs. In piles of fallen leaves, they can find worms, roots, and seeds to eat, as well as a place to sleep during the day, and even somewhere to raise their young. But these places are bad for the city's image. Tomorrow, the good place the hedgehog has found might be tidied up. At least for tonight, its belly is full. For animals searching for food, the central business district can be as challenging as any wilderness. The problem of getting enough to eat is now pressing on the nesting kestrels. The young birds have grown fast. It's becoming more and more difficult to fill their stomachs. Even if their parents hunt non-stop, there may still not be enough. Now they are fighting hard to catch everything they can. Even a single flying bug can't be overlooked. The growing kestrels have shed their gray fluff and grown adult feathers like their parents. They are becoming bold. Their instincts are pushing them to leave the nest, even though they may not be physically ready. Accidents are common. The city is a tough place for young birds. For those that leave the nest before they can properly fly, there are normally 3 outcomes. They may die of injuries, they may be eaten by a predator, or they may just starve to death. This story, however, has a different ending.
对，然后这之前您可以就把它搁一纸箱子里，然后好，谢谢您啊，哎，再见，
This is the only specialized raptor hospital in China. Dai Chung and her colleagues rescue some 200 birds every year. Now is the peak season for their work.
啊，我知道了。啊，行，那我们就在那边上呢。哎，行，好嘞。啊，那一会儿见。哎，好，再见。哎。哦，讲那儿呢。
Another young kestrel has fallen from its nest. In order not to scare or irritate it, the rescuer has placed the kestrel in a light-proof carton.
应该这是今年的小鸟，应该脑袋顶上绒毛还有呢，这是今年刚孵出来的。然后现在呢，等于是它正好是练飞的时候，可能就是附近没准从哪儿飞下来，然后下来之后呢，它力量不够，它飞不回去了，可能就落您这儿了。也不瘦，还挺胖的，健康状况挺好。
你早不是动物园飞出来的。
我们还想给它喂水，它不喝。
The rescue is far from complete. Unlike a doctor treating humans, a vet treating animals can't ask her patient about its symptoms or where it feels pain. So how should we treat animals when we have difficulty understanding them? Different approaches are possible. Dai Chung's only purpose is to nurse these birds back to health before returning them to the wild.
对，包括那个今天你看给红隼卡的那个环儿，但如果你要一味给它卡上的话，它会勒到它。然后你再想把这环撬开，就会容易这么撬的，就会伤着它腿，很危险。最严重的时候可能会导致骨折。然后就做这样一板，然后等于我们按这环的这个大小去抠出来。 每只鸟腿给它上环的时候，就这样比一下。其实所有的这种创造啊，然后做东西啊，然后全是为了说能为它的福利更好的这种体现。
Unfortunately, both Dai Chung and Zhou Lei know that even if they work hard all year round, the number of raptors they rescue will be insignificant compared to the number trapped illegally.
单从它一次捕捉或者是贩卖的那个数量上来看，你就能知道这个数量，我们救助的数量到底有多少。我们是全年的数量，但是它只有一次就可以超过我们全年的总和。
我们大概也是尽自己最大努力，每年组织1到2次这种，就是让救助人一起参与我们的工作，然后看到他们重回野外。
The mission of these bird doctors is to restore their patients to health before releasing them back into the wild. Dai Chung and Zhou Lei are determined to carry on their work. With their help, the common kestrel will continue to hunt from the skies over Beijing. A great lake offers peaceful relief from the city's noise. Water birds nesting here have a unique way of protecting their families. In Chaoyang Park, 2 great crested grebes pair off with the elaborate mating dance that is characteristic of their species. Afterwards, they will share the responsibility of raising children. Work begins immediately after they have mated. Their nest must be of solid construction and built in a secluded place. Grebes are masters of concealment, which they practice to protect their families. Soon, the nest is well hidden by vegetation. Everything is going according to plan, although there will be more demanding work later. During the egg's long incubation period, if the parents leave the nest even briefly, they will cover them very well. The baby birds are finally born, and now the family faces a new problem. If the chicks stay in the nest, much energy will be spent carrying food back and forth. Outside, however, it is too dangerous to let them paddle in the water. True to character, grebes deal with the issue through concealment. Adult grebes hide their young with their wings. Each parent takes its turn to warm the sparsely feathered chicks against its body. Protected in this way, the baby birds eat more, grow faster, and are more likely to survive. But the blissful security only lasts for a week. When they are big enough, the chicks must swim on their own. To make their own way in the big city, indeed, no one can hide under their parents' wings forever. The same big issue is now facing the young Kestrels. Today is the most critical day of their lives. 2 chicks have already left the nest. One is left behind hesitating. It climbs onto the glass of the balcony, as if looking for encouragement. Then, in a moment of elation, it begins to fly for the first time. A bird that has left the nest must find its own territory. Once on top of another building, it will no longer be protected by its parents. Now it's time to fend for itself. Magpies are fiercely territorial birds. Alone or in pairs, they try to force the juvenile kestrel out. Luckily, this youngster has inherited the courage of its parents. Like any big city, Beijing can be tough for its residents, whether they are animals or humans. From nesting swallows to swimming grebes, from foraging hedgehogs to hunting kestrels, all are engaged in a constant struggle for territory. And from it, the resources they need to flourish. When making a documentary about wild animals in the city, they seem close at hand when you talk about them, but remote and elusive when it comes to shooting. Everyone knows that common kestrels nest in tall buildings, but in a city as big as Beijing, finding their nests is like looking for a needle in a haystack.
一直寻找红隼，但是用尽所有方法都找不到它的时候，会发生一件事儿，就是动物它会找到你，并不是它真的是它找到你，而是你的方法，你的努力到了一定程度的时候，你一定会遇到它。
Not only did the crew find kestrels, they also got to know the birds' neighbors. They set about recording the story of birds and humans living together. As with the kestrels they are hosting, a connection forms between the apartment owners and the film crew. They leave their keys, so shooting can take place even when they are out. The goodwill of the apartment owners not only makes shooting possible, it also makes for better footage and a more satisfying production process.